Welcome back to another episode of Draft Prospects with me, Coach Evans, and Chris. Just joking. We apologize for the inconvenience. We had some technical difficulties, but we got them fixed out. And for all those that were chatting with me in the chat box, I appreciate you, Osman, T. Pinellas. Who else? Who else was on that chat? Let's see. I'm gonna say AK because I can't pronounce that. I don't want to mess your name up, so I'm gonna say AK. Who else was talking to me? Osman dropping 10 2. He said, I'm going to throw that up there right quick. He says, as a football fan for over 50 years, mostly as a casual fan with limited knowledge of the tactical side of the game, thanks to you and Chris and the crew for educating us. So I appreciate you, Osman, for that. And my response to him was this right here. Thank you. I had all this knowledge sitting in my head. And since I'm not coaching anymore, it just felt right to share it. Obviously, I misspelled share, but charged to my head and not my heart. Who else was in there? On there with us. Bazel said he was first, but actually Pinellas was first. So he was slipping on that. But Jesus Christ, appreciate you for coming through. Appreciate it. But we're gonna get right into this thing and appreciate you, Chris, for joining us. And we got 1 week and a day for the draft, man. And
yes, sir.
So this will be our last little show before we get into that. And we're gonna start with DBs and let's get this rolling. Let's get our set up right. First name on the list will be Cam Hart. Now, with Cam Hart, you see his RAS score. Again, RAS is relative athletic score. It's 0 to 10, 10 being good, 0 being bad. Cam Hart's Notre Dame. He's 6'3", 202 pounds. Only had 11 on the bench press. That's why you see that red there. His vertical was good. His broad was good. His 40-yard dash was a 4.5, but standing at 6'3", that's not bad. The yellow is considered okay or good. The green is elite. Red is bad. His 3-cone was bad, but you kind of expect that out of a guy standing 6'3". If you 6'3" and you got a good 3-cone, you in that realm of him, so to speak, with all capital letters. So with that being said, I'll kind of let Chris go first on what he saw on tape from. Well, first I'll say this: a lot of people when we talk Ravens, and myself and Chris are not from the area. So a lot of Ravens fans love to want Baltimore guys on the team. This kid is from Baltimore. So, yes, if you didn't know that, he went to Notre Dame, but he's a Baltimore kid. So we'll kind of bring up that little tie-in toward the end. But what did you see out of tape from Cam Hart, Chris?
I really liked him. I thought he was a really impressive corner, and actually, my first look of him was down at the Senior Bowl before I even watched this tape. And you watch him at the Senior Bowl, and you're like, "Damn, why isn't this dude being spoken about more?" Because you see, he's a bigger corner, but his ability to match and mirror wide receivers, I was like, "Whoa, this dude got feet like a little guy."
Mm-hmm.
And you see that 3-cone there, and it looks shaky. You see the short shuttle, it looks shaky, but when you see it on the field, it's a different story. And you watch him go up against Marvin Harrison Jr., and you see some special traits from him. And he's a guy you always see him communicating with his teammates. Always talking, always pointing things out, lining guys up on the field, and he kind of has that different type of energy on it, like. You watch some defensive backs and they're just there to, line up on their man, do their job, and that's it. Cam Hart, he's there to do his job, but he's also trying to get everybody else settled in and make sure they're doing the right thing. So you kind of see that energy from him of a leader, and that's what you want. You want guys who take charge and who want to be that guy in charge of the secondary and take pride in that kind of stuff.
As far as what I got, his snaps, he's a 5-year guy. So he's all 5 of his years at Notre Dame. He's a 5th-year senior. As a freshman, a true freshman, only 3 snaps. Second year, 88 snaps. Third year, 739. The next year, 568. And then the year after that, 572. As a total, he only had 2 interceptions, which to me, that kind of bothers me. But sometimes in college they just don't target you, and I understand. And as a total, he had 2, 4, 6 plus 5 is 11 pass breakups over his 5-year span, and then he hovers right around 50% completion percentage, meaning the amount of passes thrown at him, they complete 1 out of every 2 that's thrown at him. But as far as what I saw on tape, he's a true band corner. Like they line up and press and they play man, and he's one of the guys that he's looking at his guy. He ain't focused on nothing else that's going on. I got very athletic and smooth in his movements, good speed and recovery to stay on top of wide receivers. His length is one of his good traits. Versatility, he can play wide receivers or he can slide down and play tight ends if he needs to. Good hands to make plays on the ball. He just don't do a lot of catching of the football. He, knocking them away and, knocking receivers' hands down and stuff like that. I got that he's a Baltimore kid, which I know, Ravens fans would love that. Bad things, he's had surgery on both shoulders. So his tackling technique is, to me, that would be an issue because he probably just going there, throwing that shoulder and not necessarily wrapping up the proper way. And then he has trouble finding the ball sometimes. So he kind of, when the ball is coming, he kind of, I don't want to say panic because that's too harsh of a word. He just has issues just locating the ball, and guys either catches it or he just misses out on opportunities to make interceptions. But overall, I like the prospect. I think he can be a guy that can come in at a later pick, sit behind Brandon and sit behind Marlowe, and build and be a guy that can play in year 2 or year 3. But he got one thing that you can't coach: 6'2", 6'3", and he can run.
Feet. Yep. And you said it when you started talking. That scheme that he played in. Where you up there at the line pressing. There's not a lot of corners who get to experience that in college.
Yep.
So his transition, just fundamental wise, as far as being impressed and getting his hands on wide receivers, that's going to be less of a learning curve than other guys who you typically see just playing, off man all the time and just hanging out in his own coverage all the time. So his transition should be a fairly smooth one when you consider the kind of scheme that he's coming from.
Yeah, and then Marcus, what's Notre Dame's coach name? Marcus
Freeman.
He's a hard-nosed guy that they got a scheme, and he's gonna find guys to play that scheme, and they love to play man and try to stop you from running the ball, and Cam's a man corner. So if you got man in your scheme and you want to play a lot of man, he's one of the guys for that. Is he great at it? No, but he's closer to being good than he is sucking at it, if that makes sense.
Right.
He has way more good reps than he does bad playing man coverage.
And there's a reason, like you said, the lack of ball production. There's a reason why he's going to be, 3rd, 4th round pick. We're not talking about him in the 1st round. Right. But to get a guy like this with this kind of profile, in the 3rd or 4th round, to me, sign me up for that. I'll take that every day.
Yep. All right, second guy on the list. Controversial guy right here. Cooper DeJean. But look at this RAS score, man.
About to sound like January 6th over here.
Look at this RAS score. 9.85. He didn't do stuff at the combine because he was hurt. But then once he got cleared on like April 1st or 2nd, he did stuff at his pro day, I think was April 8th. And look at all that green, man. Height, 6 foot, weight 203, bench 16 reps, vertical 38.5, broad jump, 40-yard dash 4.46, 20-yard split 2.5, 10-yard split 1.5. Didn't do any of the agility stuff, which honestly I understand why. Coming off of that injury, you ain't trying to start and stop too much. I understand going straight line and you can kind of decelerate and whatnot, but starting and stopping, you ain't trying to do too much of that. So I understand why he didn't do the agility stuff. But 9.85 out of 10. That's something pretty goddamn athletic, man. ain't no doubt about that. That's something that's pretty goddamn athletic. But as far as his reps and whatnot, let me throw it up there real quick. Gotta click it. But I couldn't. The thing is, when I went to PFF, and I'll let you go first because I gotta pull it up because I'm hoping it was a typo. It only would give me 1 year of his stuff from college. So just go ahead and tell me what you saw for him, on tape, and I'll pull back with this PFF stuff as far as his reps and whatnot.
So I really love Cooper DeJean. Just watching him last year, you can make an argument that he was Iowa's second best offensive player while playing defense because when he was catching interceptions, he was taking them back to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And also he has that return ability. And there's a lot of talk about moving him to safety, and that's not because he's not athletic enough to play cornerback. That's because he's so much of a playmaker that you just got to move him around. And that's what Iowa did. Iowa was like, we're not going to waste him because teams aren't throwing his way. So we're going to move him around and kind of use him as a chess piece, similar to the way that the Ravens use Hamilton. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't used as much as a safety. He lined up outside primarily, but you would see him just moved around the formation sometimes. Sometimes you see him at safety. Sometimes you see him down at the slot. He was primarily an outside cornerback, and I think that's where he'll be in the NFL. Now, when it comes to just this dude's just athletic skills, like you see it right there with the RAS score. But mentally, like the feel that he has for the game, you see that all over his tape, just with the way he anticipates, the way he breaks off of his man in zone coverage and he's able to jump routes because he can see, he has good route recognition and he sees things developing in front of him. It was impressive. And somebody in the chat he was a four sport athlete, and he was a baseball, basketball, track. If Go to YouTube once we're done here and just put in his basketball highlights, and you see this dude windmilling it in high school, going crazy, and he was a former quarterback too. He holds the school record for pass completions, passing yards, career passing touchdowns, receptions in the game, receiving yards in the season, touchdowns in a career. So this dude was just doing everything in high school.
Yeah, and so I was right. They only had his stuff for this year. So just for this year alone, he had 705 snaps. That he was only targeted 46 times. He had 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups. But at this point, nobody in that league, the Big Ten, was throwing it. So he's not going to have a bunch of numbers and whatnot because the year before he was catching stuff and taking it to the crib. Now, what I will say about him is if he gets his hands on it, he's going to try to house it. You can beat him if he needs to go to a team that's a zone scheme team. Because in zone, he is from 1 to 10 in zone, he's a 15. From 1 to 10 in man, he's probably a 5. Which would, if you measure that together, you still got a 10 cornerback, if that makes sense. He's exceptional in zone. Like you can't get him to bite on like if something goes away, he ain't gonna chase it. He's gonna stay where he's supposed to be, find the deepest or find whatever his read is, and he ain't gonna chase the cheese. And if you try to bait him with some stuff and you overthrow it or underthrow it and whatnot, he's gonna go get it. And if he gets his hand on it, he's gonna try to take it to the house. And if anybody misses a tackle and give him a slither of daylight, he's gonna crib it because he's just that fast. He's a really good tackler, and but he's a little stiff in the hips when he try to play man. But what really sold me on him, because I wasn't a fan, and I rarely go back and do this. I went back and watched him last year versus JSN and Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what tipped me over to kind of favor Cooper DeJean, because I was a hater. I was a hater. And when I went back and watched him, the reps versus JSN and Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, I'm like, okay, this dude can play a little football. But he needs to go to a team that's prime. You don't have to be all zone, but zone needs to be the basis. Their base defense needs to be zone so he can show out.
Yeah,
so he need to have a good front four, and he can do what he needs to do in zone.
And I think when it comes to, because we just talked about Cam Hart, who comes from a press man scheme, and Cooper, they barely even played man over there at Iowa. They just had him in zone. So when we talk about that transition and learning those fundamentals, that's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him early on. As with the Cam Hart, he already got that in his bag. But I everything you said, I love Cooper DeJean as well, and I think you're getting yourself a playmaker.
Yep. Now the question is for you and for Chet at 30.
I think he's worth the 30th pick, but I'm not too sure if his position is worth it for the Ravens.
And that's why I am too. I like if we wasn't down so many old linemen, I would say yes, but us being down so many old linemen, I don't think any cornerback is that guy. Now I say that, but we'll see next week. We might be all eating these words next week. So let's go to the next guy. Next guy on the list. Ennis Rakestraw Jr. from Missouri. RAS score of 7.18, which is okay. His 40 is a 4.5. His height 5'11, weight 183. And as you see from the picture, he's a slender, thin guy, but don't let the frame fool you. Go ahead, Chris.
He got that Tommy Hearns build where you could sleep on it if you want, that slim and slender look, but he's packing a punch just like Tommy Hearns. This dude, there's energy that you could feel when it comes to certain players, and it seems like Missouri had those dudes at every level on their defense, because you see the same kind of that same kind of energy with Darius Robinson too. But Rakestraw. I love these kind of players, the spark plugs of the team, the guys who ready to mix it up, always ready to mix it up, and will let you know about it too, because he's not shy on the field. He's one of those big mouth guys, and I love those type of cornerbacks, those type of defensive players, because that defense, you could see the defense feeding off of that.
Yep.
Now on the field, he doesn't have the best long speed in the world, but if you're drafting Ennis Rakestraw, you're not drafting him to be your CB1.
Right.
You're drafting him to be your CB2, high level CB2, in my opinion. So he's not going to be going up against the Justin Jeffersons or have him following, the Jamar Chases of the world. I think he's going to be the guy that you want lined up across your number 2, and you don't have to worry about him. He's going to be dependable, going to do all the dirty work. But to me, his tape is probably one of the most fun DB tapes you can watch, because he's always mixing it up.
Yep. I got as far as the snaps, he's got quality snaps all 4 years. Freshman year, he got 554 reps. Next year, 216. Junior year, 725, and last year, 465. His reception percentage it's over 50 every time, but he's gotten targeted every year. He's in the SEC and he played for Missouri, so Florida, all the big time schools, they going at him. They don't care who he is. Had 10 pass breakups his junior year. Got a consistency in pass breakups all 4 years, but only had 1 INT in 4 years, which is a concern. But as far as what I saw on tape, his change of direction ability allows him to stay in tight man coverage. I think the reason he's so good in man coverage, he had a good trio of wide receivers to cover and practice every day. If you didn't get a chance, I know a lot of people don't watch college football, but Missouri had 3 very good wide receivers on their team this year. And for him to have to cover them guys and one-on-ones and whatever they do in practice, you couldn't help but get better. They had 3 really good wide receivers. I don't think but one of them coming out. 3 really good wide receivers. He had good instincts. He never gives up on the catch, always raking to get the ball out. That was a little pun if you didn't get it. He don't mind sticking his nose up and run support. As far as his negatives, too aggressive for zone at this point, because he always trying to jump stuff and get to the ball. And then he panics sometimes when the ball arrives, so he'll probably get flagged in the league. Like he gets a little grabby sometimes to, you know how DBs get. Like in practice, and DB coaches always set this up because they hype it up in practice and they allow him to grab and pull and all that stuff. And the DB coach is like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Lock him up, clamp him down. And then as soon as we get in the damn game, flag. And I look down there, told you that you're stupid. But that's what they do. That's what they do. But I like Rakestraw. I like his energy. I like his ability to bring energy and light a fire on the entire defense. Like just like you said, like you can see him make a a deflection or something like that, and it just lights the entire defense up. And they needed that at Missouri because they're the little brother in the SEC, so they needed any little piece to fire them up and get them going. And they held their own this year. They held their own this year.
They were a fun team to watch. They were fun
on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's Ennis Rakestraw from Missouri. Moving on to our next dude. James Williams from the U, baby. All right.
One of your boys.
All right. Now, the RAS score for James Williams is not good. Not good. This is probably one of the worst RAS scores you'll see. It's a 4.62 out of 10. Didn't test very well. James Williams is 6'5". It says 6.42, but James Williams is right at 6'5". He ran a 4.65. Vertical was 30. Broad was 9 something. The only good thing was his height and his weight, 230. But, and I will say, and when I'm looking at Dane Brugler's the beast, Dane Brugler has him listed as a linebacker. But all of his years at Miami, he played safety. All I'm gonna say is don't let the RAS fool you. And I'll talk about his tape when Chris, I'll let you go on this tape. Go ahead with James.
Yeah, man. When just to put in context, like when it comes to combine training, and I don't know where he did his combine training. Might have did it at the Y, looking at these numbers. But when you look at these numbers, you have to take that into account. Like, how much are these guys putting into the training, the combine training? We see Marvin Harrison Jr., where he's like, no, I'm training for football. I'm not training for the combine. And he can afford to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that, because if it's not translatable to the field, but it's translatable to a track and field competition, which is basically what the combine is, then why even waste 3 months of your life doing it if it's not going to get you better at football at your job?
Right.
I know it can make you money with your draft stock, but you watch James Williams, and these numbers. I mean, you would think he's like a slug out there, but he's not.
He's not.
You watch him; he's all over the field. He lines up deep safety. He lines up in the box. Sometimes will be in the slot as well. But to me, he's a heavy hitter. He's one of those guys that you want around the line of scrimmage. You want him disrupting, getting in passing lanes with that length that he has. That's what you want him for. To me, you're not going to ask him to be in man coverage a bunch. You're not going to ask him to play deep safety a bunch. Can he do it? Yeah, I think he can do it. But to me, he's going to excel being closer to the line of scrimmage. Then, all you got to do is just watch a few games and you see the kind of aggressiveness that he plays with.
Mm-hmm. Somebody I think Kiwi put it up there. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, one of the most recruited kids coming out of South Florida. And most of y'all know I'm a Miami fan, so I had to throw him up here. But played as a true freshman 384 snaps, sophomore 657, and then last year 729. Got 4 total interceptions in his career and 9 PBUs. What I got on tape is he would knock you in the dirt. Like, he would knock you, he would KO you, like, from any position. Got position flexibility. He can play free, strong, nickel, outside linebacker, and off-ball linebacker. He's length. Again, I heard somebody wrote pause in the chat box earlier, but no Diddy right now. We talking football. His combine testing is not what you see on film. He can cover tight ends at times and big wide receivers if they choose to put him in the slot. He's still a little raw. He needs to trust his eyes in coverage. But the closer he plays to the line of scrimmage, the better he is. So from 0 to 5 yards, he's great. From 5 to 10 yards, he's really darn good. From 10 on back, he gets a little worse, but he's not bad. But the closer he is to the line of scrimmage, the better he is. And I really, really, really see him in blue and green and lime green and gray next year. I really, really see him in the Pacific Northwest next year, being our version, well, being their version of Kyle Hamilton. I really think not Mike. Yeah, Mike gonna make a run. Mike gonna make a run at this dude. Gonna make a run at this dude because he ain't gonna go early because of the testing. I think Mike gonna make a run at this dude.
I mean, and he would know how to use this kind of skill set. You know, he wouldn't just tell him, all right, you're going to play on the back end, you know, like a traditional safety role. To me, that's not going to work with him. Like, if you want to maximize his skill set and the level of physicality that he plays with, you want him around the scrimmage. You want to move him around. You want him to be a chess piece. I mean, what you alluded to is the Kyle Hamilton role is doing that with. And is he Kyle Hamilton? No, but you're talking about a later round guy with some rare size and rare movement skills for a person of that size.
Just so, I mean, like Chris said, when we finish, when you get a chance, I know you probably gonna go look at the whole game, but just look at his highlights and just look at some of his movements. Just look at the way he moves. Don't necessarily look at the result. A guy that big shouldn't move like that. He doesn't have the discipline, the football discipline of Kyle yet, but he's just as athletic, if not more athletic than Kyle. And if he can get the football discipline because he's still raw, this dude right here is gonna be special, in my opinion. And that ain't the homer me saying that. He's an athletic freak. All right, next dude up there, Jarrian Jones. All right, Jarrian Jones, cornerback, Florida State, Mississippi. I say Mississippi, Florida State, Mississippi. I say Mississippi because he's a Mississippi kid from McGee, Mississippi. I mean,
he was there for a year.
He went to Mississippi State for his freshman year. Shout out to McGee, Mississippi. One of the guys I played college baseball with was from McGee. But his RAS score is 9.87 out of 10. That's pretty darn good. Ran a 4.38 at the combine. You see his 20-yard split and his 10-yard split. All are elite. His size is not very good. Well, I ain't gonna say not very good. It's considered good because he's 5'11". But you know, if he was a half inch taller, it would be green because he'd be 6 feet. But who cares about that? Weight 190, which is good to be, 5'11". And I think Jarrian is considered, and you tell me if you agree with this, he's considered a slot guy.
Yeah.
He's considered a slot guy.
Yeah.
Vertical is good, broad's good. And this kid's tough, man. This is a tough, hard-nosed kid. Tell me what you see on tape for Jarrian Jones, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked his tape. I thought he was incredibly smart, and I like those kind of players who are smart and who put themselves in good position. For me, he was one of those guys who was like one of the best click and close you'll see in any of the corners that we'll talk about or we'll see. Once he sees something, his click and close is instantaneous, and you kind of see that transfer over to when he's asked to blitz. When he's asked to blitz, he's in there in a hurry. And the kind of role that you want him to be in is kind of like, for Ravens fans, is that Arthur Mollett role, but with hyper athleticism attached to that. Just like Mollett, like he's not a strong guy. He's going to try to wrap up, but then you'll see there are times where the ball carrier is just too strong for him. And you see that with the lean build that he has. And sometimes he just doesn't have that strength to really take dudes down as far as tackling. But he will mix it up. Don't let that frame fool you. He's not scared to mix it up or get in there. And, this year he was able to actually get some ball production too. Get his hands on a bunch of passes, and this was actually his first year lining up in the slot because he was an outside receiver before. Corner. And he was an outside corner before, and they moved him over to the slot, and his production went up, and probably had his best year of his career. So I think the arrow's pointing up with him still learning that slot role for himself, because you kind of see him in that LSU game where he's just like a little giddy. Like a JV player just moved up to varsity because he's just a little giddy. And I'm like, why is this dude so hyped up? And I'm like, oh, it's the first game. But then you see, once you watch more games as the season progresses, you see him calm down and actually be comfortable in that role a little bit more.
Yeah. You mentioned ball production. And I'm looking at it. He has the most interceptions and the most PBUs this year of his 5-year career. He got snaps at Mississippi State in 2019 as a freshman, and he's played consistently. His 4 years at FSU, so he's played 5 years of college football. And the most targets he's had is this year. His reception percentage this year was 50%, and again, he had 3 interceptions and 3 pass breakups. And what I got for him is physicality. I love him because he's a SIP kid, and I'm always, favor those kids. Position versatility, because like you said, he was an outside corner, so if something happens and he needs to go back out there, he can, because he's been out there for 4 years. Not scared and run support. 4.38 and can fly. He works extremely hard to stay in phase. And for those that don't know, and I ain't trying to insult y'all intelligence, but for those that don't know what in phase is, it's basically to stay within that thigh range of the receiver, trying to stay in a position to where you can actually put your hand on the thigh of the receiver, like you can touch his thigh as your guys are running. So that's, to me, that's in phase. You can, like, as you're running and you running, you can touch him as you run. That's in, because you know where he at without actually looking at him. So that way, if you kind of try to find the ball, you can still feel for him. So he works extremely hard to stay in phase, and that way he can make a play on the ball and still feel for the receiver. And but the only negative I got for him is if he gives up a catch and he's not there to make the tackle immediately, because he goes so hard, he's easily faked out. Because like if he give up a catch and he's going so hard to make that tackle, he get a quick and the guy's gone. But other than that, I ain't got very many negatives about Jones. And even when he gets faked out, he closed so fast because he closed so hard because he fast. He rarely gives up big plays. So, and if he so happens to get a taller slot receiver on him, jump balls may be an issue, but he fights through it. So, it is what it is. It ain't much that you're gonna have a dog in the slot to beat him consistently.
Right.
It's gonna have to be a dog. And then at 4.3, you're gonna get special teams out of him. And I haven't seen him return anything, so I don't know if you'll get any kind of return ability out of him. But you're looking at a gunner too. You immediately probably got a gunner on your special team, on your punt right there. All right. Next up, Javon Bullard, another safety from Georgia. RAS score 8.24, which is good for a safety. His size, they got it as poor, but his safety, it is what it is. Weight 198. Only had 16 bench reps. His 40-yard dash is good for a safety, running 4.4. 20-yard split is good. 10-yard split is good. Shuttle for a safety is darn good. I mean, his change of direction is excellent for a safety. Got good hips, and his 3-cone is good. His 3-cone is okay, but that's still good for a safety. Javon Bullard was the mainstay in the back of that Georgia defense, always setting guys up, putting them in position to to make plays. And Javon looked like a pro already. What'd you see on tape from Javon, Chris?
Man, I've been waiting for this dude to come out of school for a minute now. I've had my eyes on him. Just watching other players, you study other players in previous drafts, and he's like, who the hell is this little 22 dude? He's just all over the place, constantly making plays. And he looked like one of the lead, because last year, Jalen Hyatt, you would see dudes that were scared to line up against him. And Bullard, I saw him line up and press him with confidence. And that was one of the only dudes I saw really be able to do that. And not to say that he could keep up with Jalen Hyatt's speed or anything like that, but just to have that kind of confidence in your ability and not back down. And you read up on him and you see he was not one of these 5-star recruits who had a whole bunch of notoriety coming out. This was a dude, 3-star guy, had to work his way. And he got into the defense and carved himself a nice role early on. And you don't really see that from dudes coming out of Georgia. And this dude was one of the main firecrackers for this team as far as getting everybody hyped up, getting everyone in like getting everyone hyped up. And that kind of reminded me of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
Just one of those crazy dudes that you need on your team. And sometimes that gets him in a little bit of trouble, like a couple years ago when he knocked out Marvin Harrison in the championship game or the playoff game. I forgot what it was. And he knocked him out. But that's just the way he plays. He's a physical cat. That's what he wants to do. And Georgia moved him over to safety this year to try to get him around the ball a little bit more. For me, I think his best spot is corner, slot corner. I think that's his best spot. I think that's where he can do a lot more damage as far as impacting the game and being able to blitz. I don't really want him playing deep safety. To me, you kind of wasting him playing him that far back. You want this dude at the line of scrimmage, either in coverage or you want him affecting the run or blitzing off the edge. And this dude. He's just fun to watch. He's probably one of my favorite, probably like my top 3 favorite defenders in this draft.
Again, it's crazy. Like we don't talk about these dudes before we get on here. It's because I got right here. I'm gonna just jump to this one. He says better closer to the line of scrimmage. That's one of my notes. It's better closer to the line of scrimmage or as a half field safety. But I got in bold, better close to the line of scrimmage. But what Chris was alluding to earlier, he was second team All SEC. He was the defensive MVP of the national championship last year, the year he knocked Marvin Harrison out. And he was also the defensive MVP of the semifinal that year as well. So the 2 playoff games, the year they won the national championship, you're looking at the MVP of both, the defensive MVP of both games. So that tells you how good of a football player he was with all those studs they had on the team. With who was the Georgia rookies this year? What's the big boy from Philly? Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter,
yeah. And the edge guy from Philly.
Nolan.
All them cats that went into the league this year. This dude was the defensive MVP on that team in the national championship game and the semifinal game. This cat. Well, I got coverage on lock. It's route recognition, high football IQ, gets his hands on footballs, whether that's for interceptions or PBUs, comes downhill in a hurry for run fits, and he's a great tackler. And then I got, he's better close to the line of scrimmage. And I said, he looks like a pro already because he is a pro already. He just looks the part. He looks the part. He tackles well, covers well, gets people lined up. And in that system, you kind of got to be because you're on a team full of pros. And if you're commanding those guys, you're a pro already.
Yeah.
Because not only are you commanding elite athletes, you're commanding elite egos.
Right.
And if they listen to you, you're a pro.
5-star guys listening to a 3-star.
Right. And that means that says a lot. That says a lot. So somebody's going to get a pros pro and probably going to get a leader once he get into whoever picks him up and he gets in there and figures out the nuance of the team, he'll rise to the top of that and probably be the leader of that team within a year or two. Rookies won't come in and be the leader unless they're probably a quarterback. But he'll get in there and figure out, the way it works, and as soon as he get like reps in a game and figure out the system, he'll be the leader of the team not long after he get there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next dude. I was gonna put another Miami guy up there. No, we're gonna leave him out. Kamren Kinchens. Again, how could you get any worse RAS score than James Williams? But here you have it. Here you have it. 4.65 for Kamren Kinchens. As a safety, 5'11", 203. Only had 13 benches. A lot of red and yellow on here. Again, this RAS score has nothing to do with his film. And we talked about how the RAS score has nothing to do with James Williams' film. Cam's film is 10 times better than James' film. That says a lot. And James's RAS score is twice as much as Cam's. So just go take a look. Just go take a look. And Cam has production. What you see about Cam on tape, Chris?
I mean, they say men lie, women lie, numbers don't, but numbers lie because you watch the tape and you don't see these numbers that are on the screen. You don't see these numbers on tape. Like this doesn't even come close to telling the story when it comes to Cam Kitchens and his game. I hadn't watched him until Coach, put him on my radar. Man, this dude is fun. He's fun to watch. A complete safety, and you can't say that about a lot of guys coming out of college. Complete safety, ball production, tackling, just the want to tackle. A lot of guys have ball production, but they don't want to, get dirty and make those, nasty tackles at awkward angles. Because there's times where he's not in advantageous positions where the ball carrier clearly has the angle on him. And he's like, I'm just going to lower my damn shoulder and, do everything I can to take this dude down. You don't really see that with a lot of safeties who have this kind of ball production. And to me, he's a complete safety. You can have him play center field. You can have him play down in the box. He can do everything, in my opinion. Now, obviously, he isn't a top level athlete. Um, Neither was Kyle Hamilton. Kyle
Right.
Hamilton wasn't a top level athlete. Not saying that because him and Kyle Hamilton's games are two completely different things. But when you talk about on field production and on field instincts and being able to put yourself in positions to make plays, that's Cam Kitchens. Now, if he had that athleticism, then we're talking about him in the first round lock. But on the field, skill wise, he's a first round talent, in my opinion.
Now, Cam, he came in with the same year as James. He's a South Florida guy from Miami Northwestern. Um, Ton of snaps. Played as a freshman. Had 11 interceptions over the past 2 years. I think 6 last year. Let me check, make sure. 6 last year and 5 the year before, or vice versa, and had a ton of PBUs. Cam has everything, or can do everything as a safety. He just don't have speed. He's a great tackler. He can play center field. He has great range. Now, because he don't have good speed, his instincts makes up for it. And I tweeted about him the other day, and I said he has the instincts of Ken Griffey Jr. in center field, and he do, because he sees stuff. He can already flip his hips and start on it before the ball is even thrown. That's kind of like the center fielder reading the ball off the bat. And when he's a post safety, single high safety, he goes and gets the ball better than anybody. There's a play where Florida State they put Keon Coleman in motion, like an orbit motion. They just flip a little bubble screen out there to him. So it's 1-on-1, him and Keon Coleman, on the tackle. And Keon Coleman's like 6'3", 6'2", 6'3". Cam's 5'11". He basically body slams him. There are a bunch of times, he's 1-on-1 with people and he makes the solo tackle. Then there are times where, he's the corners are getting beat because Miami didn't have good corners. They had 2 good safeties, him and James. And he just erases the corners getting beat and go makes the plays. So just because he got a SHITTY Raz, this is a very, very good ball player. Now he's gonna go later, but somebody's getting a really good football player. Now I don't know, is it gonna translate like mentally, but the kid can play football. And I like him. I like him. And his tape says something totally different than his RAS score. And like you said, these numbers lie. These numbers definitely lie. And he gets his hands on the ball, and 11 interceptions in the past 2 years. So then 10 PBUs in the past 3 years also. So
yeah, to me, he's gonna be one of those guys that we look back, 4 years from now, and they're gonna be like, damn, how did he go so late? Like, how come he wasn't a first round pick? I think he's gonna be one of those kind of guys.
Yeah, because he's a baller, man. He just gotta look at the tape. I wouldn't keep it saying Ed Reed Ed Reed didn't test well, but I wouldn't, because we know what Ed Reed, we know the finished product with Ed Reed. I wouldn't put that on the kid, but you can see the you can see that. You can see that. You can see that. So I get where you're going from. And then with the school and whatnot too, I understand. All right, this is a favorite of a lot of people in, the Ravens community right here. Max Melton. RAS score of 9.08 from Rutgers, cornerback. Height 5'11, weight 187, which is red. But for a cornerback, that's fine. That'll go up. His explosion is elite. His speed is elite, 4.39. His 20 is good. 10-yard split is good. His shuttle is red, which is a red flag for me at a corner. You need to be able to start and stop and change direction. And his 3-cone is okay. But Max Melton from Rutgers, Scarlet Knights. What'd you see, Chris?
So this dude, he came up on my radar in like October. I was watching them go up against Michigan, and he was just a terror on special teams, on the field, like just on defense. And I'm like, damn, who is this dude? And then I watched him against Ohio State, and he's going up against Marvin Harrison Jr. and he's holding his own, against Marvin Harrison Jr. And you see a very, very physical corner, who's not afraid to mix things up at the line of scrimmage, be able to help as a run defender, hyper athletic. I think he can give you versatility of being that outside, inside guy. To me, his game, it kind of resembles like a Ladarius Webb type. Like that's the kind of vibe I got from him. A guy who can play the finesse game, but also mix it up as well, and have that speed to recover down the field if he gets out of phase. Comes from a football family. His brother Max Melton plays with the wide receiver with the Packers. His mom and dad.
Melton.
Oh, both. I said Max, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bo Melton. And then his mom and his dad both played sports at Rutgers too. So he comes from an athletic family. But this dude, he's definitely gonna make a name for himself on special teams early on. Like like coaches are gonna love him for his special teams prowess. I know people don't want to hear about special teams, but that's how a lot of these guys, break into it. We saw that Jimmy Smith needed to prove himself on special teams, first round pick and all of that. But yeah, you got to prove it, to not only to the coaching staff, but to the guys on your team that you're not just going to be a diva.
Exactly.
And I love Max Melton.
I think my new friend AK mentioned ball production just now. He definitely has ball production. He has 8 interceptions and 12, 15, 16 PBUs over the 4 years at Rutgers. And what I got for him is seeing him, and I didn't know much about him either until we decided to do this exercise. But I got position versatility. He played outside and inside, so whatever team gets him, you get probably will start inside. And if something happens to your outside guy, he probably can slide out there and be a number 2 corner. Great ball skills as far as getting PBUs and getting his hands on it. Refuses, and this is what I loved about him the most. He refuses to stay blocked on the edge. So because a lot of run schemes set up to where you don't want to block the corner and you want to make the corner tackle your running back, that would be a problem versus Max. Because he's gonna go in there and he ain't gonna just, like, if you got a big running back, he ain't gonna be stupid and try to tackle him up top. He gonna cut the crap out of big running backs, and running backs the same size as him, you're gonna try to knock him out. And then when you do have wide receivers that try to block him, he abuses them. Like, he'll take them and throw them over there to their coaching staff and go make the tackle. And I enjoyed seeing a DB get physical with wide receivers, because a lot of wide receivers these days trying to half block you and try to brother-in-law you, and he wasn't going for that. Nope.
Not at all.
Nope. I'm finna be physical with you. I'm finna embarrass you. I'm finna have your coaches yelling at you. I'm finna have your running backs mad at you because you won't block. And we finna get after it, or you finna get off this field. And that's what I loved about him. And I saw a couple of other Ravens people. I think it was Cole said that that if he had to he would put a red dot on Max because of the way he played. So and I see why not, because he gets after it. He gets after it. And I didn't know Bo was his brother until you said that, But I would love to see the one-on-ones with him and Bo.
At those
Like
family
in the
reunions.
backyard or whatever. I bet it start off fun and games, but it get real serious real quick.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's Max Melton from Rutgers. All right. Next up, Terrion Arnold. All right, local kid from here in town. Played at JP2, which is a small private school. Had the ability to play at one of the public schools here, but chose to stay at the small school to play with his little brother, and ended up going to Alabama. A lot of us didn't think he was Alabama like material because he played at the small school, but we were wrong. And he went to Alabama and did his thing. Um, as far as his RAS, he's a 9.25. His composite score with his height, 5'11", 189. Those are good numbers. His explosion was great. 37 on vertical, broad 10.9. Three cone is good. Shuttle's good. 40-yard dash 4.5. And that 40 is really is not show how explosive and how well he plays, because his 40-yard dash with his instincts and footwork and hips makes it look like he's a lot faster than he is, because his hips are, it's almost like he in a swivel chair. His hips are so smooth. So like, even though he ain't got this straight line blazing speed, his footwork and his hips are excellent. And he's a natural leader, man. Like, he took over the DB group at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was the natural leader at the combine, and he was the leader of the DB group at Alabama. And he only played 2 years. He redshirted his first year, and then played his redshirt freshman year and last year, and he came in the draft. What did you see from Terrion Arnold?
Yeah, Terry. I mean, you look at these numbers, and one, his height, he doesn't look that size. Like, he looks like he's at least 6'1". Like, he doesn't look like this short. He does, and his arms look like like he got vines. It looks like, but the actual, like, when you see these numbers, because I'm looking at them now and I'm like, damn, his arms, like, what? It looked like his arms were longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like he was bigger than that too. But the change of direction that you were talking about, like, that is one of the most impressive things, because you'll see wide receivers stop on a dime, specifically a route against Lad McConkey. And you see him just be able to stay in his hip pocket and just be able to stop with him on a dime and make that transition and be able to get the PBU. And it's like, dudes that are his size, they shouldn't be moving like that with guys who are way smaller, way quicker, way shiftier, and don't weigh as much as him. And to me, that was one of the most impressive parts of his game. And then when you do some digging on the personality that he has, and you alluded to it at the combine, he took over the DB group, but damn near took over the broadcast, because
Mm-hmm.
when he got the microphone in his hand, it's like they fell in love with it. And coaches are going to love that. They're going to eat that up. And you see somebody like that, and it wasn't all easy for him either. Like, you watch him early on in the season, and you see him get whooped
Yep.
sometimes. But then what you see, and the nationally televised game, he got whooped. And there are some corners where they pack it up. That confidence goes down. And with him, he forgot that instantaneously, and he just kept building every week. And as you watch his games, you watch the season progress, you see him get better, and you see that arrow just pointing up, up, up. And that's exactly what you want from a cornerback or any player. You're going to have some adversity. It's not going to go. I brought up Jimmy Smith earlier. Jimmy Smith, he could have packed it in and been like, damn, man, I'm about to be a bust. I can't even get on the field. Well, what's the dude with all the teeth? Undrafted dude from Washburn, Kerry Williams.
Get weird. Yep.
Kerry Williams is starting over the first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
But you're gonna go through some adversity, and being able to battle back and put yourself into the CB1 conversation, Like the hats off to him because it's more than just physical. You got to have that mental side of the game as well.
This is another one that didn't have the information like Cooper DeJean, but I got the beast thing right here. And it got 2021. Let me get my mic closer to me. 2021, he redshirted, which I alluded to. 2022, he had 45 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 9 PBUs, and an interception, which was technically his red shirt freshman year. Last year, he had 63 tackles, 6.5. How you get it? Oh, tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 17 passes defended. And we've been rounding numbers like 10, 11, 12 for 3 and 4 year players, total. He had 17 last year and then 5 interceptions. He was the first team All-American, first team All-SEC, and led the SEC in interceptions and pass defended. And so when you go look at Terrion Arnold's, just go look at his highlights. Just forget looking at his full tape. Go look at his highlights. You see him breaking up passes versus Lad McConkey, versus Ricky Pearsall, versus all the top receivers that everybody trying to get. You see him breaking up passes and covering and doing, DB stuff versus. So when he get beat, he ain't losing to Joe Smo that's gonna be, smoking a pack of Newports in 2 weeks. When he lose, he losing to dogs. And like you said earlier, like early in the year, that confidence might have got shaken, but he strapped it back on and went to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, you can't bow down because Kool-Aid on the other side.
Right.
So you're gonna get work. So you ain't got no choice but to get better.
Yeah.
So because him and Kool-Aid was the best duo in the country to me. And so if they ain't gonna throw a Kool-Aid, you just gonna be the monkey that they go get? No. So you got to get better. And he definitely did that. And not only did he get better, he in the running for maybe CB1 in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Him and Kool-Aid.
It wouldn't be surprising if he was the number 1 corner.
So it's tough. This 1 and 2 might be coming from the same school. 1 and 2 might be coming from the same school. And this kid got a lot of personality, a lot of heart. The camera loves him, and wherever he goes, the city probably gonna love him because he's gonna compete. And I think that's probably his biggest attribute is he's going to compete. He's never gonna quit. He's a gamer, man. He's a gamer, and his tape tells you that because he's one of them dudes. He's a football player that loves the game, and he's gonna lead whatever team he's on. Like we talked about with Bullard, when he figures out like the nuance of the team, and he got kind of get in there and get some reps and whatnot, he's gonna lead the team.
Yep, those type A personalities that you want in the locker room.
Right. So and I don't want to jinx the kid like that, so I'm gonna leave that out. Next. All right. TJ Tampa. So this rascal I had to bill because he didn't do any stuff at the combine. So I took his stuff from the Beast little pamphlet and took it to the RAS website, and this is what it shot me out. So his RAS is 6.34, but obviously he didn't do everything. But height was 6 feet, weight 189. He ran a 4.58 at his pro day. He had a 20-yard split of 2.65 and a 10-yard split of 1.64. He had a shuttle of 4. I don't know if this number necessarily right, but I don't know if they shuttle right. But his 3-cone is 6.97. And so it shot me out a RAS of 6.34. But as far as TJ Tampa, and you can see his best attribute just by looking at this picture. And that's the long ass arms. And that's why I picked this picture because of them arms. But what do you see on tape of TJ Tampa?
Yeah, like you said, that crazy wingspan that he has, that's going to be able to shut down throwing lanes. We see that with Sauce Gardner, where Sauce Gardner will get beat, but he's able to recover with those long limbs that he has and tighten up those windows that quarterbacks have. And you see that with TJ Tampa as well. I think with him, right now, I think he's better off in zone than he is in man coverage right now. I just think he has that. What happened?
The same exact words on my paper.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
But that short shuttle, because I didn't see that. That 903 grade that he got, you see that on tape. Because in my notes I have um just average athleticism, has better quick change of direction for his has better quick area change of direction for his size, but lacks the long speed to keep up downfield. And you kind of see that with that 4.45, but his feet are ridiculous when it comes to just being able to stop and start and keep up with even smaller, quicker wide receivers. Like I was really impressed with him, because usually with these dudes that have the long limbs, you kind of see them lumber out of the breaks, and you're not able to see them change that speed up the way that Tampa does. But I was really impressed by that. What I was kind of surprised at is how little he was used as far as press man. You have a guy with this length and this size, and the foot quickness that he has, and you didn't really see them put him in those situations to really get up on the line of scrimmage. And that goes to what we spoke about with the first guy, Cam Hart. Cam Hart, they were not wasting that size and that athleticism. And with Iowa State, it kind of feels like they didn't really use him to the best of his capabilities, in my opinion. Not to say that he was wasted there, but I think it could have been a lot more than he actually was.
What I got for him is well, he got. Let's talk about his numbers real quick. Played 747 snaps this year. Was targeted 49 times with a 51% catch rate. Had 3 interceptions last year and this year total, and then PBUs last year and this year were 16 total. And so with that shorter, that is right. He was a 407. That was at his pro day. And these numbers coming from his pro day, and they come from the beast thing. So he didn't do anything at the combine. It's because of his hamstring. But he did. He ran a 4.58 at his pro day. So all those numbers on there are right, but they're from his pro day and not at his combine. So that's where those numbers came from. But I got he was second team Big 10, all Big 10, Big 12. I'm sorry, 2022. I got better in zone than man. He's a willing tackler, long arms. Again, I wrote better in zone than man. I don't know why, but not trashing man. Can't open his hips as fluently as like the really good corners in this class. That's why I think man coverage is a problem for him. These long arms do help him impress, but these long arms really help him in rerouting receivers in zone coverage. He doesn't chase cheese in zone, and that helps him to redirect and go get interceptions when he does. I can't remember who he was playing against, but it was one in particular play. They ran something. I'm gonna say it was smash, and the receiver ran out, then he ran in, and he chased him on the out because obviously that's his coverage. Then he ran in, he just stood there, and so they tried to run a corner over top of him because those long arms. He didn't take any unnecessary steps in chasing that little shallow route. He was able to get back over top of the corner route and pick it off, and then he just looked at the DB like, at the receiver like, I thought I was gonna chase that, and he just flipped the ball and walked off. So that shows me a lot of discipline, and that shows me how much better he was in zone versus man, because in man, if you're a man guy, you was gonna chase that a little bit, trying to think you was gonna get you a pick six or something like that. But he just let it go in, and he got his eyes to see if anything was coming. He saw the corner coming over top, synced up under it, made the pick, and you looked at him like, y'all really tried me, huh? But and a matter of fact, I think it might have been this game with this because it was a snow game. Might have been versus Kansas State. I think they played Kansas State in the snow, so it might have been this game right here. But and he's not gonna go early. He's might be one of those guys that can go third or whatever. But any of these long corners that you don't have to play right now, that can develop into a Richard Sherman type corner, you might can get a steal out of him. You might can really get a steal out of them because getting them late And if they develop, if you got a good coach, you got a good system, they can help you. They really can help you, especially if you ain't just set and playing man all the time. If you ain't just set and playing man, and if you got a decent front four and you can get home with four, which last year we were able to do that. I don't know if we were able to do it this year, but last year we were able to get home with four some, and you got corners with some kind of length, that's gonna help. That'll help.
Yep, and I think you spoke about the third round. I think there's going to be this physical type that you can get in the third round when you talk about TJ Tampa, you talk about Cam Hart, you talk about Jackson from Oregon. They're these types that you're going to be able to get them in the third round, and they, like I said before when talking about Cam Kitchens, we're going to look back and be like, damn, how did this dude go so late?
Right. So we'll see, man. We got a week before. I think that's the last one. Yeah, it is the last one. We got a week before the draft. And again, we'll be here. Me, Chris, Lunch Break Hot Take, Hendo, OTR Mike, Michael Crawford, and Kerry Stevens will be here for the first and second round of the draft. We'll start at 8 on Thursday. We'll start at 7-ish on Friday. Won't be here Saturday at all, but we probably be on Twitter hanging around talking about stuff. But we'll be here for actual good draft content, like knowledgeable, real stuff you need to know. Jokes will be aplenty, and banter.
Not from me. I'm serious.
See, the jokes have already started. They've already started. So we had a good time last year. We're gonna have even better time this year. And so tune in. Have the serious, boring stuff on TV, and come here for all the good fun stuff. And we appreciate y'all for coming through, man. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us. And again, appreciate y'all for rocking with us. And we'll see y'all soon, man. Again, remember, no roundtable Monday because we're doing the 2 shows, Thursday and Friday. But we'll have stuff, for you. We're recording the what do we call it, Chris? What do we call it? The
bracket.
The bracket show tomorrow. I think it'll be out Friday-ish.
Yeah, it should be out
Friday-ish, and then they're doing their 7-round mock Sunday, correct?
Sunday, yes.
Sunday. So, and that'll be out maybe Monday-ish.
Yeah.
All right. So be on the lookout for that. And other than that, man, we'll see y'all soon. Peace and love.
Peace.